While Kamala Harris unveils her third economic plan in just 2 months of campaigning, and it's essentially going to be a cut-and-paste job from Bidenomics over the past 3.5 years, Donald Trump in North Carolina built upon his bold, Big Bang, America First manufacturing plan that he calls the new American industrialism. Here's a quick clip from Mr. Trump today in Carolina. Take a listen, please.
Here is the deal that I will be offering to every major company and manufacturer within our country. I will give you the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs. I will cut your energy in half. The lowest regulatory burden and free access to the best and biggest market.
All right. The centerpiece in this plan, slashing the business tax rate from 21 to 15%, so long as the products are made in the USA. Mr. Trump also promises 100% expensing write-off for machinery and equipment, along with a major 10-to-1 deregulation plan, drill baby drill, to slash energy costs. And by the way, here's a very important little add-on that he offered today regarding the U.S. dollar. Take a listen, please.
If I'm elected president, we will have the world's reserve currency in better shape and order, and every country will follow it. And if they don't, we will put tariffs on that country, and we won't trade with that country.
So, for those of our friends on Wall Street who believe Trump wants cheap money and a sinking dollar, think again. A sound and steady dollar was in the Trump RNC platform, and he repeated that at the New York Economics Club. Now, this is a major economic growth blueprint. Now, here's what won't work for Mr. Trump, and I'm going to completely agree. Deere and Company is thinking about moving much of their manufacturing businesses to Mexico. This is not what Trump wants. It is not America First, and it's an uncharacteristically sneaky attempt by a grand old company to dodge the USMCA trade deal, lay off American workers, and then still try to pay lower taxes. Now, our friends at the Wall Street Journal don't like the fact that Mr. Trump publicly threatened Deere with a 200% tariff if they try to sneak into Mexico. But I believe, with all respect, the Journal is wrong. Trump is offering Deere and any other company producing in America a massive and profitable cost-cutting plan. Just think of it. Lower taxes, lower regulations, cheaper energy, lower inflation, and a sound dollar. Now, these are enormous America First onshoring incentives. This Trump plan will put America first in the global race for capital. After all, why should Trump policy reward Deere's corporate income statement or its balance sheet at their Moline, Illinois headquarters while they slip away to Mexico in order to close plants and kill jobs here in the U.S.? Of course, U.S. manufacturers compete in global markets. But Mr. Trump's whole industrialism plan would slash business and labor costs across the board and will make America ultra-competitive in worldwide competition. And, incidentally, with an ultra-low 15% tax rate, real wage increases would be so substantial that Deere and other companies, in all likelihood, wouldn't be faced with costly labor agreements. Mr. Trump is more than willing to use tariffs as a tool to promote American economic security and national security. He is a master negotiator. He is offering tremendous new incentives for job and wage enhancing business activity. Deere is a grand old company, but it should play by the new rules. That's the riff for tonight. All right, joining me now, John Carney, Breitbart economics and finance editor and co-author of Breitbart Business Digest, and North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer. Gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Mr. Cramer, I want to start, we'll sort of get to Kamala's plan, whatever his plan may be. Yes, she's a capitalist. Of course she is. Maybe a big government socialist. But that's, I'll leave that discussion. I want to ask you, though, I don't think Trump is wrong. I think if he's offering American businesses a 15% tax rate, 100% expensing, deregulation, lower energy costs, and a sound and stable dollar, all of which will help to curb inflation and so forth and so on, why shouldn't American business get with the program and play by these rules rather than running off to Mexico or someplace else? I mean, if you're going to go to Mexico, then you shouldn't get the tax cuts, that's for sure. And why should you leave America in the first place, Senator Cramer?
I think it makes perfect sense, Larry. I mean, he has teed it up so beautifully for any American company to do more in the United States. Why wouldn't he demand that they do it in the United States? I mean, and Deere & Company is a great company. You're exactly right. We're obviously familiar with them in North Dakota. A lot of their products around North Dakota, a lot of their products are made in North Dakota. Having said all of that, the one area of all of this that isn't discussed that is, of course, workforce. And that's where maybe a Mexico plant of some sort may fit in at some point. But at this point, you're right, lower taxes. I mean, the cost of energy as an input, imagine that. And quite honestly, Larry, I think you agree with me, regulations are the worst tax of all of them. And if he can reduce regulations, there's no reason to go anywhere else in the world but the United States of America, assuming we can get the workforce they need.
Well, look at, I think, John Carney, let me just ask you about this. I want to talk about Trump's plan in general, and then we'll have a little bit about Kamala. But, I think my friends, look, the Wall Street Journal editorial page, dear friends of mine, usually right. This one, though, is wrong. I mean, Trump's offering tremendous concessions here to business, all right? Not concessions. Let me change the word. Incentives. He's offering incentives to produce, to invest, to hire, to raise wages, okay, for improved productivity. They can't walk away from that and expect to get these incentives at the same time.
Right. And what Donald Trump is saying is that we had set up an economic system that was basically paying companies to ship jobs overseas. He's saying, let's put an end to that. We will have tremendous tax breaks if you do your manufacturing here in the U.S. That makes a lot of sense. Look, the rest of the world actually already follows this policy. They give you breaks if you manufacture in their country. He's saying no more of this one-sided trade. We are going to make sure that Americans can get jobs for American companies by giving them the right regulatory environment, the right energy policy, and the right tax policy.
He's giving companies a gift, and he's giving companies all around the world an incentive to come to America.
And investors all around the world. As you said, the race for global capital.
That's right.
People will see it makes sense to pour money into U.S. manufacturing.
That's right.
Because the after-tax rewards will be so great, it will be irresistible. We are going to be a magnet for global capital as we rebuild manufacturing in the U.S.
And Senator Cramer, there's another kind of sidelight here, almost a backstory. As you know, Mr. Trump is a master negotiator, and as you also know, he is willing to use tariffs. He will use tariffs for economic reasons, for trade reasons, but he'll use tariffs for non-trade reasons, for that matter. I mean, he'll use tariffs for national security reasons. He'll use tariffs, for example, to close the border, right? Remain in Mexico, which was so successful, and slash the illegal immigrants coming across the border. That was done as part of a tariff threat to Mexico with Obrador. And I think he's demonstrating this again. I mean, tariffs may be a dirty word to some people, but I don't know. They can be quite useful if used properly.
Well, Larry, to your point about national security issue, wouldn't you rather use the peaceful tools of economic incentives to include a stick like tariffs rather than kinetic wars, weapons of war? I mean, literally, what you're talking about is serious business. And you can use these economic incentives and sticks to really take chaos and turn it into calm, certainly on our continent, and I would say worldwide. You're exactly right. He's a master negotiator because he understands leverage. And what he understands about leverage is that we have a lot of it. We're the consumers of the world, Larry. We have the big investment opportunities and capital that's looking for a place to invest. He doesn't need to apologize for anything.
Senator Cramer, he will make the workforce. He will make this country the most competitive country in the world. All right, he will. That's what his
He will.
aim is, and he's doing it with carrots and sticks. Okay, the carrots are the taxes and the regulations, but the sticks will be the tariffs. Now, I don't know. I think that's common sense.
Well, it sure is back where I come from, and I come from the center of common sense, the center of the North American continent.
All right, John Carney. One other little subheading here. His statement today about the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Now, that was in the platform at the RNC, right? That was in the New York Economics Club speech. Here he says it again. I don't think he mentioned it yesterday, but he mentioned it again today. Now, if a presidential candidate keeps saying repeatedly that I'm going to keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency, I would say he would keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency.
Absolutely. He's been absolutely clear about this the entire time. Yet, as you pointed out, Wall Street is convinced that somehow Trump is a weak dollar guy, right, that he wants to see the dollar value fall. He's said, no, that's not part of the program. And actually, what he's explaining here should strengthen the dollar because it will make investing in the U.S. more attractive, which actually then boosts demand for the dollar, which raises the value of the dollar. So he is actually putting forth, as you used to say all the time, king dollar into the world economy and not advocating, as a lot of people say, they think tariffs will weaken the dollar. But if you combine tariffs with tax cuts, you don't weaken the dollar, you in fact strengthen it.
Yeah, you know, Senator Cramer, Carney makes a good point, I think. I mean, after all, tariffs and tax cuts, I don't know. I think it's an interesting combination. It's a bit unorthodox in terms of the economics profession, but who cares about the economics profession? I mean, everything Trump is doing would make this country faster growing, better wages, higher productivity, powering for AEI, right? We need more electricity. He certainly doesn't want to end fracking or anything crazy like that. Right. To me, there's something for everybody here. It's a very bold plan. That's what I'm getting at. And if he wants to use tariffs to enforce it, if some companies want to try to, I don't know. I don't like to use the word sneaky with Deere. Deere is a grand old company, but I hate to see him even talk about Mexico. Look what they're getting here, Senator Cramer. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're exactly right. It raises the quality of life for everybody. It raises the standard of living for everybody. And the reality is, you referred to tariffs as an enforcement tool. That's the right term. Because at the end of the day, at least 9 times out of 10, you won't ever need to use them. Just the threat of them will inspire and incentivize the right behavior that grows our economy, raises the tide, which will raise all boats. And that includes not just the people that own the buildings, but the people that the electricians, the maintenance workers, even the people that clean the building. They'll all enjoy a higher quality of life under his plan.
John Carney, we got to get out, but I just want to ask you, we're seeing a big drop, not a little drop, a big drop in consumer confidence and business confidence. What's that mean?
People are very worried about what's happening. The Fed just cut interest rates, first of all, by 50 basis points. They did not do this because everything is going well with the economy. They are worried about the labor market softening. What's hurting right now, the differential between the amount of people who say jobs are hard to get and jobs are easy to get contracted a lot in the last couple months. People are worried about the labor market. That is very often the way into a recession. You get worried you're going to lose your job, then you stop spending. That causes an economic contraction. That's what's happening with the consumer confidence.
Housing starts and sales way down.
Way down. Very disappointing today. That is, again, not just people, but businesses. We saw this also in the PMI numbers out of S&P Global. Businesses are more worried about the future than they have been in a while. I don't think it's a coincidence that this worry has come with Kamala Harris rising in the polls because people are worried if she wins, the economy is in a lot of trouble.
All right, we shall see. John Carney of Breitbart and Senator Kevin Cramer, who is a wonderful sport. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it very, very much.